All right. Well, I'd like to return to the issue of Barack Obama, president or monarch, would-be monarch, perhaps, because this week has been a very bad week for Obama. And there was a satirical article entitled "The Obama Administration's Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Week." And if you look at it, began with calls for impeachment late last week, where Senator Inhofe said people may be starting to use the I word before too long in a public statement. He was asked the I word impeachment. He said, yup. Also, Representative Chaffetz, Republican from Utah, said he was not taking impeachment off the table. Former Arkansas governor and presidential hopeful Mike Huckabee said, before it's over, I don't think this president will finish out his term in office. And additionally, we had calls from Cornel West made very strong statements against Barack Obama this week. Charlie Rangel as well, Carl Bernstein of Watergate fame, and even within his own party, there's the sense that what Obama did with his trifecta, what he did and failed to do on September 11th, 2012, and the crucial 72 hours following that, the IRS targeting of Tea Party groups looking for tax-exempt status, the AP wiretapping, all of these things, you're getting statements even from the leadership of the Democratic Party in a press conference on May 16th. Nancy Pelosi herself said, these are things that cannot be defended. She said, it's not like we're all siding with the administration. But I'd like to ask you more about the background to what's coming out now in the form of these scandals, because in December, it was December of last year, EIR held a press conference with Walter Jones, Charlie Rangel, a senior Democrat from New York, as well as retired Colonel Patrick Lang and Lieutenant Colonel Anthony Schaefer. And in that press conference, they presented, among other things, an open letter to Barack Obama stating, if you intend to invade Syria, intend to launch a military campaign, you must come to Congress first. That open letter was signed by a handful of both Democrats and Republicans. And additionally, there were also issues of the constitutionality of the drone program, which were brought up in the House Judiciary Committee by John Conyers. And then now we have an interesting development which you remarked on last week, which are the peace talks that Kerry and Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov of Russia are conducted recently. And there are currently plans at the end of the month to have peace talks involving all parties, including the sitting Syrian government. So these are all things that are happening in the background of the scandals that are capturing all of the headlines. And obviously, I haven't gone through all of the background, but I'd like for you to give some insight into what is behind this outpouring against Barack Obama now.
Well, I have had some influence in this process because it was a complicated process But I was the one who actually set into motion what became known as the great effort, of SDI. It was a process which I was engaged in from my forecasting work as in 1948, where my 48 forecast was actually, or 58 rather, was actually quite to the point. And from that point, the breakdown process has proceeded. And the problems have proceeded. So in and out of this process of my experience over these years, what I really accomplished, I set off the SDI. I did it. How did it happen? I ran for president on my own initiative. It was a fairly short campaign and had one purpose, is prevent thermonuclear war. That was rejected, of course, but then at the later part of the 1970s, a group of people had been formerly associated with the intelligence service of the United States during the World War II period. And they came around to me and talked about things, and we began to put something together. There were Germans, important German figures, senior figures, sometimes retired and so forth. The circles of Charles de Gaulle also. So this, and then of course the Soviet Union at a later point. So all these things come together, that there is in society, as in my case and my associates in these various past escapades or so forth that I've involved in, that people come together and they have a sense of what needs to be done. They are critical and self-critical about what should be attempted, and that's the way history goes in one sense, the good side of history. Sometimes there are people who have a very clear view. I did that at a certain point because I'm a forecaster. I'm an expert at forecasting, and as very few people are. Therefore, I have a very more specific kind of approach. But this is what happens. We in the United States, and there are people who are now dead, who were my friends during these periods, and we had these kinds of ideas. So what you have is a society which in general is highly imperfect in its organization. But you have some of us actually are able to exert a kind of influence, like whispering into the balcony from outside. You're off the balcony and you whisper into the room inside. And sometimes you get things through. My approach has been, for as long as I've been forecasting, which is essentially 1954 when I started doing that, is deliberate. It's always been a deliberate approach. I forecast what must happen, what must be considered, what must be done. Other people will take a more cautious view, but they will come in with elements that they contribute to that common interest. And we, by our talking with each other in various strange ways sometimes, we manage to put together a set of ideas which is what we would like to happen. And sometimes that works, sometimes we're defeated. But there is in society, especially in trans-European society, transatlantic society, there is a very specific kind of similitude. And that's where I lie in my work, and other people do. There is a short, narrow number of people in society who play that kind of function. But that function is essential. And we try to make things happen. Not by forcing people, not by thrusting, not by but by insinuating ideas which we know are needed, and trying to correlate what we know are the needed ideas with the difficulties and opportunities for handling these things. And I'm getting a little bit older now, as you may notice, but it's still my practice. And there are people in society who naturally will sometimes shun me because I'm hot for them. They don't like my troubles. But they agree with me. in this certain kind of way, not as a specific policy, sometimes so, but rarely. Usually it's just a tendency of convergence. Oh, we didn't like what you did here. You didn't what you did there. We don't like that too much, but yeah, forget that. Okay, we're going to cooperate. And that's what is happening now in the United States in the process of dumping Obama and dumping also this crazy monetary financial swindle system.